Historic Streetcar Board of Directors February meeting. Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first item is the approval of minutes. I see you all read them. We have a motion for approval.
Second.
Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Aye.
Nay?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next item is public input. Do we have anybody in the audience who would like to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, let's move to action item, which is number 4, Resolution R 2019-0202, accepting the final 2018 audited Tampa Historic Streetcar financial statements. Mr. Hofstadler.
Mr. President.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you, Madam Vice President. Good to see everybody. I'm Lee Hofstadler. I'm the City of Tampa's Chief Accountant. As you know, the City of Tampa does the books in conjunction with HART's help for the streetcar. I have with me today Brett Freeman. Brett is the partner with RSM, the audit firm. And so you have in front of you the financial statements for 2018. They have been audited. It was clean, it was easy, got a lot of help from everybody, even at the last minute. Your own president signed some paperwork for us, so thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I hope I don't have to go to jail for that, right?
No, sir,
Not yet.
it was all boilerplate stuff. It was all good. I signed it as well, so we're both in the same cell. Let's see, cash was up $100K this year, so that's good news. Net position's up $161,000 this year. The city did not have to contribute. As you know, the city is responsible for any shortfalls of the streetcar, and there were no shortfalls this year, so the city did not contribute. That's good for the city.
Is that exclusive of the DOT grant? In other words, does the grant count toward the plus numbers you're describing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. If you're talking specifically about the 2019 grant, that's not in here. The free service that started a month or two ago.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
That's for 2019. That's not in here.
Okay.
But we do get other money that is in here from
The
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Understood.
Let's see, fare box was down, but you'll recall we gave free Saturdays and that the CRAs contributed an extra $150,000 to cover those. So that was a wash more or less. Advertising was up. Assessment revenues are up. Insurance was down. I shook Grant's hand and thanked him very much for keeping that insurance cost down. And then HART operating costs were down. So I thought it was all good news. If you have any questions for the partner, he's here, I'm here. Entertain any questions. Other than that, would entertain a motion to receive and file this report for 2018.
Thank you. Yeah, any questions? Seeing none, a motion to accept, please.
Receive and file.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to item 5, discussion item, Winter Village Express. We have some charming Downtown Partnership staff members here. Just to give you a little background, Lori Gage told us last month that she's got streetcar advertising booked virtually through the end of the year and could not guarantee that there would be a car available for the Winter Village Express. And so I talked to the Downtown Partnership and suggested that they come here and make the pitch now. I thought we could make the commitment now as easily as we could in 9 months and basically reserve that space. So,
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Michael, for that introduction, and thank you guys for seeing us earlier this year. It was just 4 months ago that we kicked off the program, and we just finished it up in December.
and you two are?
I'm Rachel Radwick with the Tampa Downtown Partnership, and
Sean Drucker, the Downtown Partnership.
sorry, a lot of familiar faces. So we want to first report on last year. It was extremely successful. We saw a huge growth from our first year. We did an average of riders that we saw, and we saw just over 1,023 riders came through in the 6 weekends that we were operating. And just as a reminder of how the program runs, we were picking up in both downtown at the Whiting Station, running an express route into Ybor at the Centro location, and then if anybody disembarked, picking up people in Ybor, and then bringing back. It was a $5 admission onto the Winter Village Express that got you food and beverage, which was milk and cookies, and we hired some actors this year to perform and bring some holiday cheer along. That was a little bit more substantial than what we provided in the first year, and everybody got a round trip, whether or not they chose to take it. So we saw really great numbers. Almost every single streetcar that left was completely full. We had to turn away some people, which was sad, but then we were referring them that all streetcars were free at that point in time, so they could hop on any of them that were coming through. So we're back this year to ask for, again, a financial support from this board to help with the operation expenses for the program. As you can see on sheet 5.1 in your packets, it's very similar to what we brought to you about 4 years ago. Basic, same description. I'm looking for that $1,875 assistance with the streetcar charter, and then the $1,600 for the wrap, which is the same as that we've requested every single year. A slight difference in that operating expense for the streetcar charter. The first year we did 5 weekends. Last year we did 6. We're back to 5. It just happens to deal with when Winter Village opens and when Christmas falls. We don't operate after Christmas or before our opening, so we have 5 weekends in between, but the wrap stays consistent regardless from year to year. And just so you guys know, we are looking at making some additional changes to the way that the program is run this year due to the success from this past year. First and foremost, we are only going to pick up in one location, and that will be the downtown Whiting location. It was heartbreaking to turn people away in Ybor when streetcars were full and nobody was getting off, so we figured for the end user experience, it would be best to just ride round trips out of Whiting only. Additionally, we are going to pre-sell tickets. We have the utmost faith that we will be able to pre-sell before we kick off, and that way our individuals who are on board, who are running the show for us, can simply collect tickets, and it will also cut down on a lot of any kind of confusion that there might be about payment on site as well. So other than that, programming on board will still remain the same.
Questions?
So the cost numbers on page 5-1, the fourth column, those are revenues to the streetcar?
The fourth column is actually our expense. So there's the total expense, the contribution from you guys, and then what that expense is if granted the funding from you guys. So that $9,900 is our actual end expense if granted funding.
So David, we're not really getting any revenue from this.
Okay.
We're giving up our half of the wrap fee and our half of the charter fee. HART keeps their half of the charter fee, and Lori Gage's company keeps their half of the wrap fee. So we've been doing this, well, since you started.
Year, yep.
And I must say that your program's gotten more and more successful and attractive. I was pretty impressed to hear that you had not one seat available on 6 successive Sundays. The pictures are great. It's obvious to me that kids and their parents are enjoying the hell out of it. And so I think it's a great program. Would you like to add something, John?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, you were just, Yes.
Obviously, this is an expense for you all, but is knowing that you can have the ability to pre-sell tickets, is there any interest in having a second car?
At this time, for the first year, we'd like to make sure that everything runs smoothly. This is also a way to help kind of streamline our time that's spent on the project as well. If everything runs successfully this first year, we actually talked about this earlier today, we would consider adding a second car next year.
I commend you on your forward thinking and always accelerating the project each and every year, so thank you for that.
It's constantly evolving. Yes.
Any further questions? If not, I think I'm looking for a motion
I'll move
to accept this.
approval of the
Thank you.
item.
And I need a second.
I'll second.
A second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Okay, that means you can go move forward with your other arrangements, and we'll look forward to seeing it happen at Christmas.
Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. So next item is streetcar performance report. Mr. Allen.
Good afternoon, everyone. For January, the system performed well. We had a 99.11 delivery of trips, We missed 32.25 trips. 30 of those were because of a gas main leak downtown, right in front of the new USF building. The other one was because of a traffic accident. We had 2 months. January 6th, we had a small derailment here in the yard where we dropped 1 axle off due to motorman running over chock in the yard. And then at Gasparilla, we had a traffic accident at Morgan Street, and this was a hit and run with the driver there. So for special service, we provided 35.25 hours of extra service. That was entirely with Lightning games and what we did for Gasparilla. As far as our ridership for January, it was 82,996. 2018's ridership was 25,221. So we're over 3 times that. For the year, our total ridership is now 282,949 at the end of January.
Wow.
So we were at around 230,000 all of 2018. So that's pretty impressive. I thought you'd also like to know that for Gasparilla, our numbers, just for the streetcar, were 10,866, up from 6,900 the year before.
Did you carry a lot of extra riders for night parade as well?
It was a good night for us, but also it was a Lightning game on that night, so we always do well whenever the Lightning's playing.
That's great.
But it was shortened service as well, though.
Right, we ended up we stopped service in front of the barn between 6 and 10
Yeah.
for the parade.
Good. Any other questions?
Yeah, what are the numbers for the morning hours, the weekday morning hours?
Yes, particularly, are they climbing? Are people starting to use it in the morning?
Oh, our ridership's pretty consistent in the mornings. I know service planning is working on a spreadsheet of that. I don't have that with me today.
Yeah, we'd like to see that next month. Learn a little bit more about your evaluation of ridership.
We will. We'll have an entire update on the morning service exclusively at the next THS meeting.
Great. Great.
Yeah, that'll be helpful for us to understand the demand, especially after the grant expires. We want to understand how many people are potential users after that.
And to the point, if I may.
Sure.
To the point of capacity, we're working up a plan right now. We're finding that weekends we're over capacity. We don't have enough cars. We're having to prevent folks from getting on. So we're working on a plan now to extend our weekday service to weekends. There's going to be a cost involved, but I'm going to work on what a plan would look like and a recommendation on how to fund that. But we're finding the weekend. Yes.
We're turning people away both now on Saturdays and Sundays.
Wow. So you need more cars.
We do. Yeah, we need to go to 4 cars on the weekend.
Excellent. Excellent news. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Smoker, legal report.
Mr. Chairman, I only have one thing to report. If you'll recall, several months back, we advised the board of a demand that we had received by Judy Harvard. She claims that in crossing of the street, quote unquote, at Old Water Street and Channelside Drive, she caught her foot on an elevated streetcar trolley track, which she alleges was in disrepair on the crosswalk. She fell, causing injuries to her. That's her allegation. We presented their prior demand to our insurance carrier, who evaluated it and concluded that there was no liability. Ms. Harvard has now filed a lawsuit, which has been served on THS, the City of Tampa, and also HART. We forwarded the complaint to our insurance carrier. The insurance carrier has retained outside counsel to defend us, and at this point in time, an answer will be filed and discovery will occur, and once we get some kind of further progress report from the attorneys as to where we stand, we'll let the board know.
What's our retention on that insurance?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Does someone know that?
No. Grant might.
This wouldn't be Grant's problem. This isn't the CSX crossing.
True.
We have a liability policy. I don't know how this works either, or who's paying the legal bills. I'd like to know.
I think the carrier's paying them right now, but I'm not. I'll check on that and report
Okay.
back.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good, thanks.
Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Okay, good, thank you. Chair's report, I really don't have a report. We do have a survey of preference for officers for next year. Not quite sure how that works.
Staff will explain.
Good afternoon, Lena Pettit, Director of Board Relations. So this is an annual election that's going to happen at the next board meeting in March. You will be receiving a survey of preferences where you can indicate your interest in serving in any position on the board.
Okay. You know, I want to ask a question whether it makes sense to put this off until the next mayor is elected, because we have a lot of vacancies on this board. We can do it however you want, but we have at least 4 city vacancies on the board, and I don't see very many HART. Well, I guess we're missing only 1 HART person, but if we put it off until May or June, we'll know better, and we'll probably have new board members. I think Mayor Buckhorn, I think Bob said last month that Mayor Buckhorn was going to hold off on filling those vacancies and let them next.
Okay.
What do y'all think about that?
Is that okay under the bylaw?
Yeah, you could carry over. I don't see any prohibition against that.
Yeah, I'd like to carry it over until May, at least May, maybe June. Make sense?
Seems to make
I
sense.
think so.
Okay, how about a motion to that effect?
I motion to postpone new officers until May or June,
Okay.
until the time of mayor, the
You
new
bring it
mayor
back up
can
in
place.
May. I'm not sure when your new CEO comes either.
I'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay, good. Yes, you have a report. Okay, so we have a motion to push it till at least May, if not June, and we'll think about that in
And to
May.
have the existing officers carry forward.
Yes, right.
I'll second that motion. I have one question. So we have a representative to the MPO Technical Advisory Committee at this time, or is that one of the people that's one of the vacancies? Are we sending someone to that?
Yeah, you're sending me or you as the alt right now,
Okay.
and so we can continue doing that. We'll just continue all of that until the next time, and then if you'd like to continue, I know you're a busy man, but it's probably helpful for you to go to that meeting now and then. It's full of data and it's kind of boring, but it's good, good stuff to know. So, okay, so we have a motion, and did I get a second?
Second.
Yep, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Okay. Renewal of CSX crossing insurance. Grant Melnick.
Good afternoon. Have permission to approach? Being handed out is the current, the renewal proposal on the insurance that we just bound on February 6th. And a lot of interest on how this renewal perspired and transpired, and we'd like to go over that in detail with you. First off, let me once again, thank everyone, thank the board for allowing us to serve you, a small local business here in Tampa. My name is Grant Mielik. I am president of GCM Insurance and Risk Management Advisors, LLC. My office is right on 7th Avenue, been here since 2009. We place the railroad liability coverage for you, and I've had the honor to do so the past 5 years. The past few years have been relatively simple in regards to keeping the rates down, as with regarding to the insurance. This year was a little bit different. Part of the reason why is while we assumed in September we knew that ridership was going to increase, we did not realize that it was almost going to double. And I'm going to go into that a little more regarding exposure and how an insurance policy is rated. But overall, I believe this board is going to be incredibly pleased at what we've been able to accomplish in light that our exposure has doubled. So that's going to the presentation. The executive summary, In general, if you kind of go through it, I brought up some items about the 2.7 million federal grant that allowed us to quit charging fares for passengers. In addition to that, streetcars are now running more frequently. The reason why I kind of brought this up is how you rate a policy. In order to rate an insurance policy, you must have an exposure. For THS, the exposure is A, the CSX crossing, B, the ridership, C, the frequency of streetcars running on the system, and D, any claims activities, of which we are fortunate to not have any claims activities. In light of our exposure doubling, and in conjunction of the rail markets kind of having massive claims out there, we'll probably see them once every few weeks, we've been able to hold the premium increase to 3.2%. That is essentially an $8,900 that the premium has increased, even though our exposure has doubled. In layman's terms, I just want to drill this down. Imagine you own a trucking company, and you have a fleet of 10 vehicles. That's your exposure. Now imagine, and you pay let's say you pay $15,000 per year for the premium. Now imagine that you go ahead and double your trucks. Now you have 20. So your exposure has just doubled. But yet you still pay that $15,000 in premium. If that correlates to you, that's kind of what I'm saying of what we are able to accomplish again, that our exposure has doubled, but yet we've kept the premiums for all intents and purposes flat. In regards to coverages, there are no changes in the program compared to last year. Into the contract terms as dictated by the CSX agreement, we do want to point out that some of the verbiage pertaining to the insurance in the CSX agreement is a little outdated, and we recommend updating the language to more of an current status. Just case in point is how back when that contract was signed, terrorism was named something else than what it is named now. So those are small little things that I believe the contract should be updated.
Are those things that you should be discussing with our attorney, Grant?
We could.
Please do.
Will do. Once again, on behalf of GCM Insurance and Risk Management, we want to thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to continue serving you. Yes, sir.
Bob?
I got a couple of questions. I note that a couple of these insurance companies, it says they're none admitted in Florida. Does that impact our ability, or does that meet the standards that are required by CSX?
Yes, it does. Basically what CSX is, they're just $1 million limits of liability. By being non-admitted in Florida, it just means that they're not an admitted carrier, and therefore they're not backed by the state fund, FIGA. 4 of our carriers are not admitted, and one of our carriers is admitted, Great American. But in general, almost all rail lines of coverage that you see, they're all in the non-admitted marketplace.
And their credit ratings, A is not a particularly burnished number, is it? Isn't it usually AA or AAA?
No, A is the standard. So what you do always want to make sure is that these carriers have AM Best ratings, which every single one of our carrier does, and they want to be at least an A7 or greater. The best you can have is A15, which I believe all of our carriers are A15 except for one, which is A10. The biggest, though, is that they have that AM Best standard. Great question.
Did that answer both of your questions? Dave?
Do any of the language changes you would be recommending have any bearing on the coverage or the premium?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I should rephrase that. Would CSX perceive any of those changes to have a bearing on the type of coverage or anything like that? Or is this something that they would readily acknowledge as merely an update of terminology?
Merely an update. Truth be told, as Mr. spoken to President English, I would like us to address with CSX lowering these limits of liability, because $100 million in limits of liability is huge. And I think now that we're having a new legislature and a new governor that is pro-mass transit, we may be able to find some room to work with, and CSX would maybe come down a little bit and allow us to lower our limits of liability.
Well, that would be a wonderful thing if you could accomplish that.
Correct. I've seen in cases such as this, I've seen where insurance can be used as a sword or a shield. And in this case, unfortunately, it's the other way around.
Any other questions? Thank you
wanna
very much.
Just, well, if I could just go through the
Sure.
layers real quick. I know insurance is very exciting to you guys. But the first layer is your layer 1. That's your biggest layer. They're taken up to the first 50 million, of which each occurrence is 25. It's Indian Harbor Insurance Group, which is non-admitted. Their AM Best rating is A15. The railroad liability coverage form is a claims-made form. That's different from an occurrence form, as a claims-made form it happens during the year of the policy. Whereas an occurrence-made form, something could happen years ago and be triggered. That's just the nature of how the claims forms are done. Again, we've tried to mirror everything we can in the contract with CSX. Some important notes, silent on punitive damages, designated premises and operations endorsement, minimum earned premium of 35%. Some exclusions are asbestos, professional liability, and others per form. The layer 2 is Great American Insurance Company. They are admitted in Florida. Their AM Best rating is their A14. So they're not A15, which is the best you can have. They're A14. This is the second layer of the tower. It's 25 million, excess of 25 million. Again, how these towers work, as I'll show you at the end, is you kind of got to put them together like a puzzle piece. Moving on, the third layer, Steadfast Insurance Company, non-admitted in Florida. Their AM Best rated is A15, which is the best. They are following the form of the other 2 layers, of which is the Indian Harbor and Great American. And basically, you have to make sure that all those pieces connect and follow. With this layer, I'll tell you what we did do is we changed the amount of numbers of capital that they're given. Previously, they were doing 15 million, but at the rate that they wanted to use, it was higher to do 15 million. So we pared them down to 10, and then we kicked the remaining 5 million out on the next layer, which we'll show you. Arch Specialty, non-admitted in Florida. They're the A9 rated carrier. They're doing 15 excess of 60 million. So they added another policy aggregate limit of 5 for a total of 15 million. And our last layer, Aspen Insurance Company, non-admitted in Florida, A15 rated, excess liability form. They're 25 million, excess of 75 million. Once again, you can see some terms and conditions. For the most part, they all are the same. Other exclusions, terms, and conditions per form. That said, the total proposed premium, the manual premium with taxes, fees, and terrorism coverage is $321,241.50. My fee, the GCM's fee, it's non-refundable, is $20,000. So therefore, the total premium is $341,241.50. That would be our final proposal. And if you want to see something really cool, lastly, is this page kind of shows you how we built the tower up. And you can see how it differs from last year. And if you look on the right-hand side, where it shows, for instance, the bottom layer, Indian Harbor, 4.83 million per million. What you want to do is you need to make sure that tower always has parity, and that tower is always descending. And that can be the tricky part in the middle layers. And that's why we pulled 10 million from Steadfast and applied 5 million to Arch. That's how we were able to get the cost down. So do you have any questions?
Any further questions? I know it's a lot more complicated than it looks in your illustration, but we want to thank you again for doing a great job for us.
Great, thank you. This was a total team effort this year between HART, City, and THS. This really was.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to Mr. Seward's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the February 1st board meeting, HART board meeting, the HART board unanimously selected a new CEO candidate, Mr. Benjamin Limmer from MARTA. He is now the Assistant General Manager of the transit system in Atlanta. The board directed General Counsel to start negotiations. We are currently in negotiations. I can't give you a start date yet, but I am working on an onboarding process for him. And once he does come on board, I want to ensure that there are meetings with each of the of the THS board members. That concludes that conversation, and the Bernie is moving forward. We get a chance to walk down through there, not without steel-toed boots, but in the observation area. They're doing a really good job painting and cleaning and finishing out the inside. You want to give a quick update on where we are?
We hope to.
Cody?
They're finishing up the main passenger compartment stain and varnish on Saturday, and then we're going to get our carpenter in to start putting the roof back on the car.
That's great. And the electrical got fixed?
So far, there's only minor electrical we have to address. We did most of that before we took the car apart. So
good.
And I'm working with Jane to transfer the funds. We're looking at assigning some of the artifacts downstairs in the lobby over to continue that. So that dialogue is still occurring too.
Great.
So that's my report.
So sooner than later, we'll have a little victory tour?
We will.
That's great. Did you pass that?
We'll get a ride?
Hmm?
We'll get a ride on the
Yeah.
Bernie?
Sure.
Yes. Fortunately, it's free now too.
Otherwise, I would have had to pay.
Did you have a question, Adam?
No,
Can
I was
I
just
ask?
chuckling about the Bernie. My neighbor, Ted Richmond, drug me to that thing a few times back
Wow.
in the early 90s.
That's
He
right.
was in a warehouse, I don't even remember where.
No, he was there from the
Seminole
beginning.
Heights, I think they found it.
Yeah. Is that your report?
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Question
very
for
much.
Jeff. Is this a modern streetcar on the cover of this magazine?
Or is that a PCC card?
I think it's
yes.
a remanufactured original.
yeah, it's a PCC car, one of the ones from El Paso.
Is that one that we could consider for a modern streetcar in Tampa? or-
They're really old, too. San Francisco
No,
has
this is a new car though, right? This
No.
is-
No.
Oh, it's a rebuilt?
Yeah, El Paso, for some reason, when their system shut down, they put a number of their cars out in the desert for storage, and when they rebuilt the line, they had them rebuilt at Brookville.
just to keep them dry.
Like the
Never mind.
Yeah, let's have lots of Bernie.
San Francisco, one of San Francisco's lines uses PCC cars, and each of them is painted in the livery colors from the city it originated from. It's pretty cool. Okay, so Vector Media, no report. Lori Gage was called away. Marketing report. Ms. Brooks, do you want to mention that, I don't know if everybody knows our new website is up, or if there's any other marketing thing you'd like to tell us about?
Yes.
Sorry to surprise you.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and Board. I'm Vanessa Brooks, Director of Communications and Marketing. We promised a brand new website with a whole new look and feel, and we have delivered. Very proud to say that the website launched in January, and so far, from colleagues and customers, we've been getting rave reviews. So I encourage you, if you would please take a look at the website. It is awesome, I have to say.
And it's an app on our phone, too.
And actually, there's an app on the phone, and the streetcars actually, it has a live map on one bus away now, so you can actually see the streetcar in real time.
That's
We're very excited about the accomplishment. And in March, we actually have a new campaign starting for the streetcar called Wake Up with the Streetcar. I heard some talk about the morning hours, and we want to make sure that we're covering those morning hours and encouraging people to ride. So we're actually going to have Jack Harris to do a live remote for us from the streetcar, and we're going to have people wake up with the streetcar. We're going to offer coffee and donuts along the route and encourage people to park their vehicles and utilize the streetcar as a viable source of transportation in the mornings.
That's great.
That concludes the marketing report.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Excellent. Is there any old or new business to take up? Seeing, hearing none.